Right now, you exist. That sounds obvious. But there was a moment, about 74,000 years ago, when that almost wasn't true for anyone. Not just your ancestors. Everyone's. Somewhere in Indonesia, a volcano called Toba erupted. Not a normal eruption. The biggest one in the last 2 million years. It threw out an estimated 1,700 cubic miles of rock, roughly the volume of 3 million Empire State Buildings, and it threw it out fast. Entire regions of Indonesia, India, and the Indian Ocean were buried under 6 inches of ash almost overnight. The crater it left behind is so massive it's now a lake you can see from space. The ash didn't just fall, it spread into the atmosphere, blocking sunlight across the entire planet. Temperatures dropped by 3 to 5 degrees Celsius worldwide. Some regions got hit even harder. What followed is called a volcanic winter, and this one may have lasted up to 6 years. Now here's where it gets personal. Scientists studying human DNA noticed something strange decades ago. Every person alive today shares an unusually low amount of genetic variation for a species our size. Something, at some point, crushed our population down to a tiny number of survivors. An anthropologist named Stanley Ambrose connected the timing in 1998. The genetic bottleneck. The Toba eruption. Same window, roughly 74,000 years ago. His theory, the eruption nearly wiped humanity off the map, dropping the entire global population to under 10,000 people. 10,000. Total. Not per country, not per continent. The whole species. For 30 years, that was the accepted story. Humanity, one eruption away from never existing at all. But newer research is complicating that picture. And honestly, it might be even more interesting. Archaeologists started digging at sites across Indonesia, India, and China, looking for a specific kind of evidence. Microscopic shards of volcanic glass called cryptotephra, invisible to the naked eye, but chemically traceable straight back to Toba. What they found wasn't a graveyard. It was continued activity. Tools, hearths, signs of people still living, still working, still surviving in the same layers of ash that were supposed to represent civilization's near-death moment. Some regions barely felt the cold at all. A 2021 study in the journal PNAS modeled the climate impact more precisely, and found that while parts of the northern hemisphere cooled sharply, most of the southern hemisphere, where a lot of early humans were living, barely changed. So which is it? Did Toba nearly erase us, or did we shrug it off? Here's the honest answer. The debate is still open. The genetic bottleneck is real. That part isn't disputed. What's disputed is whether Toba caused it, or whether something else, slower and less dramatic, did the damage instead. Either way, somewhere out there, a small group of humans lived through a global blackout with zero warning, zero weather forecast, and zero idea what was happening to the sky. And most of us can't handle a power outage for one evening. Rapid fire, because the survival story doesn't stop at Toba. Homo sapiens weren't the only human species walking the earth back then. Neanderthals existed for over 300,000 years before disappearing around 40,000 years ago. Denisovans, a separate human lineage, vanished so completely we only know they existed from a single finger bone and a few teeth found in a Siberian cave. Homo floresiensis, a small-bodied human species nicknamed the Hobbit because adults stood barely over 3 feet tall, survived in isolation on one Indonesian island until roughly 50,000 years ago, then went extinct too. Homo naledi, discovered in a South African cave system so difficult to reach that only small-bodied cavers could squeeze through, may have overlapped with us in time and still didn't make it. We were the only ones who made it. Not because we were stronger. Evidence suggests Neanderthals had bigger brains by volume and were arguably better adapted to cold climates than we were. Not because we were faster or tougher either. The leading theory now points somewhere else entirely. Cooperation. Larger social networks, trade routes stretching hundreds of miles for tools and materials, and the ability to share information fast when the environment turned hostile. A Neanderthal group might have had a few dozen close relatives to rely on. A Homo sapiens group had loose ties to dozens of other groups, spread across a much wider territory, exchanging knowledge, mates, and resources. We didn't survive by being the strongest species. We survived by being the most connected one. Which honestly tracks. You can't out-muscle a volcanic winter, but you can out-network one. Every other human lineage on this planet eventually hit a wall it couldn't adapt past. We didn't. Not because we got lucky every single time, but because when the sky went dark over Sumatra 74,000 years ago, somewhere, a small group of people didn't panic and scatter. They stayed together, and they figured it out. You're not here by accident. You're here because a chain of people, stretching back tens of thousands of years, kept choosing to adapt instead of give up, through ice ages, eruptions, and extinctions that took out every other version of us. If stories like this are your thing, there's more of them here every week. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one.